In the hush before dawn, when the breath of time turns to frost and mountains exhale their mist, there lies a land measured not in miles, but in ages. Alaska. More than a point on the map, it is a state of being. A temple raised by creation itself, where wind and stone still perform their ancient rites. Here, life does not simply survive. It declares itself with the strength of an eternal prayer, carved into every fjord and reflected in the gaze of every wild creature. The air carries the memory of icebound eras, while the rivers flow like silver veins, pulsing with the lifeblood of a world that refuses to be tamed. Every valley is a sanctuary, every forest, a cathedral of towering giants. We arrive not as conquerors, but as pilgrims, seeking the whispers of moss, the wisdom of the eagle's flight, the resilience inscribed in the salmon's journey. We come to witness the sacred, to feel the echo of Genesis resonate within our own hearts. This sacred journey connects us no matter where we are. Share with us in the comments where you are watching from. It is an honor to have your presence on this expedition.
Welcome to Wild Alaska, Arctic predators and the struggle for survival on ice. Full documentary.
Long before the first sound, before the first footprint, there was only silence and raw power. A cosmic quiet, filled with the slow, relentless dance of tectonic plates. The land that would one day be called Alaska was born from a violent embrace between subterranean fire and the icy waters of the Pacific. Volcanoes erupted from the depths, cathedrals of magma and ash piercing the surface, shaping a skyline of jagged black teeth against a sky of smoke and flame. The Pacific Plate, in its millennia-long journey, slid beneath the North American Plate, lifting from chaos a realm of mountains. The Alaska Range, crowned by the sacred Denali, is more than rock. It is a testament to unimaginable pressure, a monument to Earth's enduring patience. Every peak, every sharp ridge is a syllable in the geological epic of this land. Time here was not counted in days, but in glacial epochs. Ice sheets, kilometers thick, advanced and receded like celestial tides, sculpting the landscape with divine patience. Glaciers, rivers of solid ice, were the Creator's chisels, carving U-shaped valleys and majestic fjords that stretch like the fingers of a slumbering god, inviting the ocean into the Earth's hollow heart. The colossal weight of ice pressed down the crust, and its retreat, a sigh lasting millennia, allowed the land to rise again in a process of isostasy that continues to this day. Beneath the ice, life whispered its promise. The seeds of the future tundra and taiga lay dormant in the permafrost, a frozen ark safeguarding botanical beginnings. When the climate warmed and the glaciers withdrew to their mountain fortresses, meltwater carved a labyrinth of rivers and lakes. The Yukon, the Kuskokwim, rivers that are more than waterways. They are arteries carrying mountain nutrients to the sea, depositing sediments that shaped fertile plains, the cradle of future life. In these newly exposed lands, the first settlers were not animals, but lichens. A sacred symbiosis of fungus and algae, capable of drawing sustenance from bare rock. They were the pioneers, preparing the soil, secreting acids that slowly broke down stone, creating the first layer of organic matter. They painted the gray landscape with the earliest shades of green and orange, an act of biological faith. Mosses followed, forming velvet carpets that held moisture and warmth, crafting microclimates for other life to take root. Next came the first vascular plants, small and resilient, dwarf willows and dryas, clinging to the soil, their roots weaving networks that prevented erosion, stabilizing the virgin land. This was the silent birth of an ecosystem. A slow, methodical process where each element depended on the last. Soil, a mixture of glacial rock, volcanic ash, and pioneer organic matter, became the foundation. The climate, a stern master, dictated the rules, long, dark winters that could freeze life in an instant. And short, explosive summers, where the midnight sun drove a frenzy of growth. The first forests took root in sheltered areas. Spruce, fir, and larch. Conifers adapted to survive the cold and snow, needles minimizing water loss, shallow roots spreading across the thin soil above the permafrost. They created a new habitat. A canopy offering shelter and a forest floor rich in decomposing needles. A perfect environment for new communities of plants, fungi, and eventually, the first animals. The earliest inhabitants were likely insects and small invertebrates carried by the wind or clinging to drifting debris. They found a world of opportunity, a banquet of decaying organic matter. And with them came predators. The land was ready. The stage, prepared over millions of years of geological upheaval and glacial patience, awaited the arrival of giants. They came from Asia across the Bering Land Bridge, exposed when sea levels fell during the last ice age. Woolly mammoths, mastodons, steppe bison, cave lions, and the first bears encountered a cold paradise. A vast expanse of pastures and willow forests. The Alaska we see today is a relic of that time, the Pleistocene era. Great valleys were shaped not only by ice, but by the march of colossal herds. Rivers were diverted by their migrations. Plant seeds traveled in their fur and feces. They were the original gardeners. Sound began to fill the silence. The trumpeting of mammoths, the roar of lions, the snapping of branches under the feet of ancient moose. Life had arrived in its most magnificent form. But Earth is a living, ever-changing organism. The climate that allowed the Bering Land Bridge to exist warmed again. Ice melted, seas rose, and the bridge vanished beneath the waves. Alaska's population became isolated, a microcosm of Ice Age life, forced to adapt to a rapidly changing world. Many giants did not survive. Climate change, perhaps coupled with the arrival of the first human hunters, led to their extinction. Their bones, preserved in permafrost, are the sole testament to their reign. Some, however, endured. Some adapted. Grizzly bears, moose, caribou, wolves. They are the direct descendants of those primordial giants. In their blood runs the memory of a lost world, resilience forged in ice and fire. They are the living soul of this ancient land. Alaska is not a static landscape. It is a process, a continuous dialogue between rock, ice, water, and life. A place where geological history is not buried but visible in every mountain, in every valley. Where the story of life on Earth is told not in books, but in the land itself. To understand Alaska is to understand time on its grandest scale, a world forged by forces beyond comprehension, a world of patience and violence, destruction and rebirth. This is Genesis, where every form, every sound, every void carries traces of origin. And in this vast theater of nature, life unfolds its daily drama, a saga of survival, adaptation, and beauty, built upon the foundations of an ancient world. In the grand workshop of creation, where life itself is the masterpiece, Alaska stands as the gallery of extreme adaptations. Here, every living being is a functional sculpture, a piece of biological engineering honed by the relentless pressure of survival. The tools are not steel but bone, muscle, fur, and instinct. To endure in this realm of ice and midnight sun, life had to reinvent itself, crafting ingenious solutions for the harshest challenges. Let us begin with the undisputed lord of this domain, the grizzly bear. Its anatomy is a treatise on power. The muscular hump on its shoulders is no ornament. It is the engine of immense strength, capable of flipping boulders weighing hundreds of kilos in search of Arctic ground squirrels, or felling an adult moose with a single paw strike. Its long, curved claws are not retractable like a feline's. They are excavation tools, keratin-forged shovels, perfect for digging roots or constructing dens for hibernation. Its sense of smell is both compass and map. With hundreds of millions of olfactory receptors, compared to the mere 5 million in humans, it can detect a whale carcass from over 30 kilometers away, guiding it through the vast wilderness in search of sustenance to survive the long winter. Hibernation itself is a physiological marvel. Not mere sleep, but a state of suspended animation. The bear's heart, normally beating 40 to 50 times per minute, slows to just 8 to 19. Body temperature drops a few degrees, enough to conserve energy, but not to freeze. For months, it eats nothing, drinks nothing, and eliminates no waste. Its body recycles urea into protein, preserving muscle mass. It emerges in spring, leaner yet fully functional, a biochemical feat still challenging scientists to fully comprehend. Its northern cousin, the polar bear, elevates these adaptations to marine extremes. Equally at home on drifting ice or solid land, its fur is not truly white. Hollow, translucent hairs scatter light for camouflage while trapping air for insulation. Beneath lies black skin, absorbing maximum solar warmth. A thick layer of fat up to 11 centimeters adds buoyancy and insulation. Massive paws, rough pads, and non-retractable claws act like crampons on slippery ice, while partially webbed front feet transform it into a powerful swimmer, covering long distances in near-freezing waters. Its sense of smell, even more acute than the grizzlies, can detect a seal breathing beneath a meter of snow. The moose, the gentle giant of boreal forests, is another masterpiece. Long, spindly legs may seem awkward, yet they are perfectly adapted for deep snow and wading through lakes and marshes in search of aquatic vegetation. Broad hooves spread its weight, functioning like natural snowshoes. Its iconic antlers, found only on males, serve both as formidable weapons and symbols of genetic status. Growing at astonishing rates, up to 2.5 centimeters per day during summer, they are fed by a velvet-covered network of blood vessels. By autumn, the velvet sheds, leaving solid bone ready for ritual battles that determine mating rights. After the season, the antlers are discarded, too energetically costly to maintain over winter. In contrast to brute strength, the Alaskan hare exemplifies subtlety and transformation. Its survival relies on camouflage. Brownish-gray fur blends with summer forests, then shifts to pristine white as days shorten, triggered by a photoperiodic cue. Its oversized, furry hind feet act as natural snowshoes, enabling it to bound across deep snow and escape predators such as the lynx. The lynx, in turn, is a ghostly predator, perfectly equipped for the chase. Its disproportionately large, fur-covered paws allow silent movement over snow. Ear tufts serve as sensitive antennas, and eyes adapted to low winter light make it a master hunter. Its population cycles intricately tied to the hares in a decades-long dance of life and death. Above, the bald eagle reigns supreme. Its vision is unmatched. Eyes enormous for its head contain up to 5 times more light-sensitive cones than humans, granting extraordinary acuity. From heights over 3 kilometers, it can spot a salmon. Hollow bones reduce weight for flight without sacrificing strength. Talons serve as both weapon and fork, with 3 front toes opposing a rear hallux for a vice-like grip. Tiny spikes on the underside prevent slippery prey from escaping. Grip pressure is 10 times stronger than a human hand. And the salmon, a tragic yet vital hero of Alaskan rivers. Born in freshwater, it migrates to the ocean, maturing into a silver predator, before navigating home with a magnetic compass and acute olfactory sense to spawn in its exact birth river. En route, it stops feeding, transforms colors, develops hooked jaws and a dorsal hump, burns fat and even muscle for the energy to fight currents, leap waterfalls, and evade predators. A supreme act of sacrifice, for it dies after spawning, feeding the ecosystem that will sustain its offspring. Even the tiniest creatures display ingenuity. The Arctic ground squirrel doesn't merely hibernate, it pushes its body to survival extremes. During torpor, body temperature can drop below 0, too. Zunesis, the coldest known warm-blooded mammal. Supercooling prevents freezing, and periodic shivering restores warmth for hours before returning to near freezing, a cycle protecting the brain. The sea otter, playful and charismatic, lacks the insulating blubber of other marine mammals. Survival depends entirely on its fur, the densest in the animal kingdom, up to 150,000 hairs per square centimeter. Trapped air insulates it from icy waters. Hours are devoted to grooming, maintaining the insulating layer. They also use tools, a rarity among marine mammals, using stones to crack shells. From the tiniest mosquito, emerging in clouds during fleeting summers, to feed migratory birds, to the colossal bear, each creature demonstrates nature's ingenuity. Every sense, limb, and fiber is sculpted by the harsh environment. They are creation's tools, forged not on anvils but through the long, patient process of natural selection. A tribute to functional diversity, where form not only follows function, but celebrates it in a spectacular display of resilience and inventiveness. Beyond the anatomy of survival, there exists a rhythm, an invisible cadence that governs life in Alaska. It is the pulse of the earth, woven from the cycles of the sun, the seasons, and the social interactions shaping every creature's daily existence. Life here is not a series of isolated acts, but a complex symphony where each individual is a note contributing to harmony or dissonance within the whole. The social life of a wolf pack is a striking example of this order. Contrary to popular belief, the structure is not a dominion led by an alpha tyrant. It is a complex cooperative family unit. The breeding pair, typically the parents of most pack members, lead through experience and respect. Communication binds the pack. Subtle body postures, facial expressions, and vocalizations maintain cohesion. A raised tail, forward ears, and a relaxed posture signal confidence. A tucked tail, flattened ears, and crouched body convey submission, a vital ritual to avoid internal conflict that could weaken the group. The iconic howl is far from a random moonlit call. It is a multifunctional social tool. It gathers the pack before a hunt, locates lost members across the tundra, alerts to unfamiliar wolves, and reinforces social bonds, a chorus affirming group identity. Hunting itself is a ballet of cooperation. Wolves rely not solely on brute strength but on strategy. Some drive prey, a moose or caribou, toward ambushes where the strongest hunters wait. They test herds, seeking the old, the sick, and the young, performing a critical ecological role that maintains herbivore populations. After a kill, the feeding hierarchy is respected. The breeding pair and pups eat first, ensuring lineage survival. Leftovers nourish scavengers like ravens and wolverines, integrating the wolf into the broader tapestry of life. Grizzly bears, in contrast, are largely solitary, gathering only where food is abundant, such as salmon-spawning rivers. Here, intricate social etiquette minimizes conflict. Hierarchies form quickly, guided by size, age, and aggressiveness. A dominant male claims prime fishing spots. Females with cubs are fiercely protected, often avoided by others. Younger or submissive bears wait along riverbanks, feeding on partially eaten fish or scavenging carcasses. Communication is subtle yet clear. A fixed stare is a challenge. Yawning may signal stress, while growls and teeth clicks are unmistakable warnings. Physical confrontation is a last resort, for even the victor risks injury, a dangerous disadvantage where health equals survival. These assemblies are temporary truces, dictated by the river's pulse. When salmon depart, the bears disperse, returning to solitary lives, carrying winter's calories with them. The daily rhythm of the Alaskan hare is ruled by vigilance. Crepuscular by nature, it is most active at dawn and dusk to avoid predators. By day, it remains motionless in a shallow depression, relying on camouflage. Eyes positioned on the sides of its head provide nearly 360-degree vision, detecting movement without turning its head. Long ears pivot independently, triangulating sound. Its nose constantly tests the air for danger. Feeding is a cautious endeavor. It eats quickly, retreats to a safe spot, and produces cecotrophs, nutrient-rich droppings it re-ingests to maximize value from its sparse diet, a strategy called coprophagy. Caribou, the nomadic giants of the north, live to the pulse of the seasons on an epic scale. Herds merge and split throughout the year. In summer, they disperse across the tundra, females with newborn calves feeding on lush vegetation. As winter approaches, they gather into massive herds of tens of thousands, embarking on one of the planet's largest terrestrial migrations. Strength lies in numbers. Large herds confuse predators, making it difficult for a wolf or bear to isolate a single individual. Migration is purposeful, guided by ancestral memory, an invisible map leading them to winter ranges with shallower snow and accessible lichens, their primary food. The sound of a moving herd is iconic. The rhythmic click of tendons passing over bones in their hooves, multiplied by thousands, producing a constant percussive whisper. Marine life follows the same pulse. Humpback whales, summering in Alaska's nutrient-rich waters, exhibit remarkable cooperative hunting called the bubble net technique. A group dives beneath a school of krill or small fish, one or more whales releasing air in an ascending circle that corrals prey. Vocalizations scare and guide fish, and in a synchronized climax, all whales surge upward, mouths agape, consuming thousands at once, a display of intelligence, communication, and teamwork. In the avian world, rhythm is measured by light. The rock ptarmigan, perfectly adapted to Arctic life, molts 3 times a year for flawless camouflage, white in winter, reddish-brown in spring, gray-brown in late summer. In winter, it digs snow burrows for shelter, shifting its diet seasonally from willow buds to berries and leaves. The pulse of Alaska is, at its core, a pulse of energy. Solar energy, captured by summer vegetation, flows through the food web. Herbivores consume plants, predators consume herbivores, and decomposers recycle nutrients back to the soil. Daily cycles of hunting and vigilance, seasonal mating and migration rituals, and complex social structures all respond to this energy flow. It is an intricate, often brutal dance, but a dance of balance. the invisible cadence guiding social behavior, delicate interactions, and constant cycles weaves every individual into the whole. It is the vital heartbeat connecting the solitary to the collective, the eternal dance between instinct and harmony, a reminder that even in the vast wilderness, no one truly stands alone. In a land where mere existence is a battle, bringing forth the next generation transcends biology. It becomes an act of sacred faith. Reproduction, parenthood, youth, and inheritance in Alaska are not gentle chapters in life's story, but epic sagas of sacrifice, resilience, and the desperate passing of legacy. They are the children of tomorrow, fragile promises that life will endure against all odds. The journey begins with ritual. For the mighty moose, autumn brings the rut. Males, now displaying their massive, polished antlers, compete for the attention of females. Their courtship is a theater of power. They dig shallow pools, urinate, and roll in scented mud, emitting potent perfumes to attract mates. Deep, guttural calls echo through the forest. When two similarly sized males meet, the encounter can escalate. They face one another, antlers displayed, sizing up the opponent. If neither yields, they collide in a thunderous clash of bone and strength, a test of endurance that rarely kills but determines dominance. The observing female selects not merely the strongest, but the one showing the greatest vigor, an indicator of prime genetics for her offspring. After mating, the male departs. The female bears the full responsibility of raising the calf. Gestation lasts 8 months, timed so birth occurs in late spring when food is abundant. The newborn arrives with awkward, spindly legs, yet within hours it stands, and in days it can outrun a human. Such precocity is vital. The mother is fiercely protective, defending her young against bears, wolves, and any perceived threat with terrifying aggression. She teaches migration routes, edible plants, and danger detection, a year-long intensive transfer of essential survival knowledge. In the frozen realm of the polar bear, motherhood is a feat of extreme endurance. After spring mating, the pregnant female journeys to a suitable den site, feeding voraciously to build a fat reserve that will sustain her for months. Embryo implantation is delayed until autumn, ensuring cubs are born in the heart of winter. She digs a snow den, often with an entrance tunnel and main chamber where, amid 40°C temperatures and howling winds, she gives birth to 1 or 2 tiny, blind, toothless cubs, weighing less than half a kilogram. For 3 months, she eats nothing. Her body's fat reserves sustain her, keeping cubs warm and feeding them rich, fatty milk, a mammalian fasting marvel. In spring, when cubs are stronger, she breaks open the den and introduces them to the outside world. The next 2 years are continuous education, hunting seals, navigating sea ice, interpreting weather, avoiding adult males who could view them as prey. It is an apprenticeship at the top of the world. The salmon tells the tale of parental sacrifice. Exhausted from swimming upstream, the female digs a gravel nest, a red, and lays bright orange eggs. The male fertilizes them, defending her from rivals. Their work is done. Their bodies, spent from the journey and transformation, begin decomposing, often before death. They give their lives, becoming the first fertilizer for the ecosystem that will sustain their offspring, releasing vital marine nutrients into nutrient-poor freshwater. Eggs endure the winter in gravel, protected and oxygenated by flowing water. In spring, they hatch as alevins, remain hidden while consuming their yolk sac, then emerge as parr, camouflaged juveniles feeding on aquatic insects. Vulnerability is extreme. Only a fraction survive to journey downstream to the ocean, where the cycle begins anew. In birds like the Arctic swift, parenthood is a long-distance partnership. This migratory champion travels from Arctic to Antarctic and back each year, witnessing more daylight than any other creature. Returning to the same Alaskan nesting site, often with the same mate, both parents share incubation duties and feeding. Provisioning is relentless, small fish and insects for insatiable chicks. Parents fiercely defend the nest, diving and attacking any intruder, humans, bears, or foxes. Within weeks, fledglings take their first flight, embarking on their epic migratory journey, guided solely by inherited instinct. Youth in Alaska is a race against time. Short summers are the only window to grow strong enough to survive the first winter. Wolf pups born in underground dens receive care from the entire pack. Non-parent members regurgitate food, act as babysitters, while others hunt. Play is serious training. Chasing, ambushing, wrestling, practicing skills essential for future hunts of moose or caribou. Through play, social hierarchies form, and bonds that hold the pack together are forged. Inheritance here transcends genetics. Knowledge is passed down, migration routes taught, hunting techniques demonstrated, alarm calls learned. A bear mother teaches cubs to dig for roots, flip stones for moths, and time river visits for spawning salmon. Without this education, survival is nearly impossible. The future of every species rests on the fragile shoulders of these young. They are the bridge between past and future, the link in life's chain. Every pup that survives its first winter, every salmon that reaches the sea, every bird completing its inaugural migration is a triumph, a victory over entropy. They are the children of tomorrow, born from today's sacrifice, carrying the hope that the great and sacred saga of life in Alaska will endure for generations to come. Life in Alaska is not a straight line of growth and prosperity, but an eternal cycle of trial and endurance. It is a land of extremes where breathtaking beauty coexists with indifferent brutality. The struggle here is not only against other creatures, but against the primordial forces of nature itself. Existence is lived between ashes and storms, measured by the ability to endure, adapt, and persevere through the seasons of adversity. Winter is the ultimate test. It is not merely a season, it is a siege. Darkness descends with only a few hours of twilight each day. Temperatures plummet, turning the moisture in every breath into instant crystals of ice. Snow, initially a silent blanket of beauty, becomes a barrier, a white labyrinth concealing food and turning every step into a struggle. For the wolf, winter is a double-edged knife. Deep snow hinders movement but also exhausts prey like moose, making them more vulnerable. The pack must operate in perfect harmony to survive. Hunts grow longer and more desperate. A successful kill can sustain the group for weeks, but failure brings hunger. Cold robs calories relentlessly, forcing wolves to burn energy just to stay warm. They huddle together, sharing body heat, a communion against the cold. For the willow ptarmigan, winter is a monochrome world. Its white plumage makes it a ghost against the snow. Yet food is scarce. It survives on willow buds and twigs, a low-energy diet. To escape biting wind and predators, it burrows into soft snow, creating tunnels and chambers that insulate it from the extreme cold. Life is lived below the surface, emerging only to feed, a deadly game of hide-and-seek. Migration is the answer many creatures must take against winter's tyranny. It is not a choice, but a necessity imposed by Earth's cycles. The caribou face one of the harshest journeys: frozen rivers, rugged terrain, and predators lying in wait along the route. River crossings are perilous. Swift currents sweep away the weak, and wolves wait on the banks. Yet the herd's collective instinct drives them onward, following an ancestral call toward lands where survival is, at least for a time, less brutal. Arctic birds undertake even longer journeys, crossing continents and oceans in feats of navigation and endurance that defy understanding. During the brief summer, they feed frantically, accumulating fat reserves as fuel for their epic voyages. Their departure signals the end of summer, a mass exodus leaving the landscape quieter, emptier. En este punto de la travesía, hacemos una breve pausa. Si lo que estás presenciando aquí te conmueve de alguna manera, suscríbete al canal y activa la campana para no perder los próximos pasos de nuestra expedición. Tu presencia hace posible que más documentales como este sigan contándose. Spring arrives not as gentle relief, but as violent chaos. The breakup of ice turns frozen rivers into raging torrents. Massive blocks of ice tear free and are swept downstream, destroying everything in their path. Floods reshape riverbanks and plains. For hibernating animals like bears, awakening is critical. They are weak and famished. The landscape, still snow-covered, offers little sustenance. It is the season of the spring hunger, when survival depends on the last fat reserves until vegetation grows and the first offspring of other animals are born. Fire is another cyclical force shaping this land. In dry summers, a lightning strike can ignite forest fires, consuming thousands of hectares. Fires appear destructive, yet they are essential to the boreal ecology. The flames clear undergrowth, letting sunlight reach the soil, open serotinous pine cones to release seeds, and return vital nutrients through ash. Soon after, pioneer plants like fireweed carpet the scorched earth in purple blooms, nectar for pollinators. Poplars and willows sprout, attracting moose and hares. The forest is reborn, rejuvenated by fire. Alaska is also a land of tremors. Located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, it is among the most seismically active regions in the world. Earthquakes can trigger massive avalanches, hurtling down mountain slopes at terrifying speeds, reshaping valleys and destroying forests. Snow, soft and silent, can instantly become a destructive force. Mountain dwellers, like goats, live with avalanche risk constantly during winter and spring, relying on instincts and intimate knowledge of terrain. Volcanoes, the land's original architects, remain active. Eruptions can blanket the land with ash, affecting air and water quality, and influencing vegetation for years. Yet volcanic ash enriches the soil, enhancing fertility over time. Life in Alaska is, therefore, a dance with disaster. Droughts, torrential rains, brutal winters, violent thaws, fires, and earthquakes are not anomalies. They are the normal rhythm of existence. Every living creature descends from generations of survivors, individuals who somehow navigated these cyclical storms. The struggle against nature is not a war to win, but a cycle to endure. It is in this crucible of adversity that resilience is forged, the understanding that life thrives not in the absence of difficulty, but in the capacity to bow to the storm and rise again from the ashes. Life in Alaska is not a straight line of growth and prosperity, but an eternal cycle of trial and endurance. It is a land of extremes, where majestic beauty coexists with indifferent brutality. The struggle here is not only against other beings, but against the very primal forces of nature. Existence is lived among ashes and storms, where survival is measured by the ability to endure, adapt, and persevere through the seasons of adversity. Winter is the ultimate test. It is not merely a season, it is a siege. Darkness descends upon the land, offering only a few hours of twilight each day. Temperatures plunge to levels that turn breath moisture into instant crystals of ice. Snow, initially a silent shroud of beauty, becomes a barrier, a white labyrinth hiding food and making every step a challenge. For the wolf, winter is a double-edged sword. Deep snow hampers movement, but it also exhausts their prey, such as moose, making them more vulnerable. The pack must operate in perfect harmony to survive. Hunts grow longer and more desperate. A successful kill may sustain the group for weeks, but failure can lead to starvation. Cold robs calories relentlessly, forcing them to burn more energy just to stay warm. They huddle together, sharing body heat, a communion against the cold. For the rock ptarmigan, winter is a monochromatic world. Its white plumage turns it into a ghost in the snow, yet food is scarce. It survives on willow buds and twigs, a low-energy diet. To escape the cutting wind and predators, it burrows into soft snow, creating tunnels and resting chambers that insulate it from the extreme cold. Its life is spent beneath the surface, emerging only to feed, engaged in a deadly game of hide-and-seek with survival itself. Migration is the answer for many to winter's tyranny. It is not a choice but a necessity imposed by the Earth's cycle. The caribou's journey is among the most grueling. They face frozen rivers, rugged terrain, and the constant threat of predators following along the route. River crossings are among the most dangerous moments. Strong currents can sweep away the weakest, while wolves lie in wait on the banks. Yet the herd's strength, the collective instinct to move forward, drives them onward. They follow an ancestral call toward lands where survival for a time is less brutal. Arctic birds undertake even longer voyages, crossing continents and oceans, feats of navigation and endurance that defy understanding. During the brief summer, they feed frantically, building fat reserves that will fuel their epic journeys. Their departure signals the end of summer, an exodus that leaves the landscape quieter, emptier. Spring arrives not as gentle relief, but as violent chaos. The thaw, known as breakup, transforms frozen rivers into raging torrents. Massive blocks of ice are torn free and swept along, destroying everything in their path. Flooding reshapes riverbanks and plains. For hibernating animals like bears, awakening is critical. They are weak and famished. The still largely snow-covered landscape offers little sustenance. It is a period of spring starvation, where survival depends on the last fat reserves until vegetation grows and newborns of other species appear. Fire is another cyclical force that shapes this land. During dry summers, A single lightning strike can ignite a forest fire consuming thousands of hectares. These fires may seem destructive, but they are essential to boreal forest ecology. Fire clears the underbrush, allowing sunlight to reach the soil. It opens the cones of certain pine species, such as lodgepole pines, whose serotinous cones release seeds only under intense heat. Ashes return vital nutrients to the ground. Shortly after a fire, new life emerges. Pioneer plants like fireweed carpet the burned land with purple flowers, providing nectar for pollinators. Poplars and willows sprout, attracting moose and hares. The forest is reborn, rejuvenated by fire. Alaska is also a land of tremors. Located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, it is one of the most seismically active regions on Earth. Earthquakes can trigger massive avalanches, racing down mountain slopes at terrifying speeds, reshaping valleys and destroying forests. Snow, so soft and silent, can become an instant force of destruction. For mountain-dwelling animals like mountain goats, avalanche risk is a constant in winter and spring. Their instincts and intimate knowledge of the terrain are their only defenses. Volcanoes, the original architects of this land, remain active. An eruption can blanket the landscape in ash, affecting air and water quality and impacting vegetation for years. The 1912 Novarupta eruption, the largest of the 20th century, still leaves its mark in the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. Yet in the long term, volcanic ash enriches the soil, contributing to the land's fertility. Life in Alaska is therefore a dance with disaster. Droughts, torrential rains, brutal winters, violent thaws, fires, and earthquakes are not anomalies. They are the normal rhythm of existence. Every living creature descends from a lineage of survivors, individuals who somehow navigated these cyclical storms. The struggle against nature is not a war to be won, but a cycle to endure. It is in this crucible of adversity that resilience is forged. The acceptance that life thrives not in the absence of difficulty, but in the ability to bend before the storm and rise again from the ashes. Amid the apparent anarchy of the wild, where the struggle for survival seems the only law, there exists a hidden order, a web of connections as complex and vital as it is invisible. It is the thread of creation, the interdependence linking every rock, plant, and animal into a single organism. In Alaska, this ecological fabric is especially tangible, and a tear in any point can unravel the entire tapestry. The saga of the salmon is perhaps the strongest and most visible thread of this web. Their journey is not merely reproductive, it is the planet's greatest nutrient transport event. Born in nutrient-poor freshwater rivers, they migrate to the ocean, where they feed and grow, storing the richness of the sea, nitrogen, phosphorus, carbon, in their bodies. Returning to spawn and die, they bring this marine wealth back inland. Their death is a gift. Brown bears, bald eagles, wolves, otters, and dozens of other species feast on their carcasses. Bears may drag a salmon carcass into the forest. What remains feeds smaller scavengers like martins, crows, and flies. Nutrients not consumed are absorbed by the forest soil. Studies of nitrogen isotopes in tree rings near salmon rivers confirm this. Trees grow faster and stronger thanks to the marine fertilizer delivered by salmon. The forest reciprocates. Riparian trees provide shade, keeping water cold enough for salmon eggs and juveniles. Their roots stabilize banks, preventing erosion that could smother gravel nests. Leaves and insects falling into the water provide the first food for newborn salmon. It is a perfect circle of mutualism. Forest nourishes river, river nourishes forest. This interconnection spans the entire food chain. The lynx and Alaskan hare demonstrate a classic predator-prey cycle. Their populations rise and fall in a synchronized rhythm of roughly 10 years. When hares are abundant, lynx populations grow. More predators reduce hare numbers. With less food, lynx populations decline, allowing hares to rebound. This cycle affects other species as well. When hares are scarce, lynx turn to other prey, like ptarmigans, increasing pressure on that population. Mutualism, cooperation between different species, appears in unexpected places. Beneath the tundra and taiga lies a vast underground network of mycorrhizal fungi. These fungi form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, including spruce and willows. The fungi, with their fine filaments, hyphae, extract water and nutrients, like phosphorus, more efficiently than plant roots alone. In return, plants provide the fungi with sugars produced via photosynthesis. This network connects multiple plants, allowing resource sharing. A large, established tree with better access to sunlight can send nutrients through the fungal network to a struggling seedling in the shade. A true underground global forest, nurturing the community as a whole. The sea otter plays a crucial role as a keystone species, whose impact on the ecosystem is disproportionate to its abundance. Sea otters eat sea urchins. Without otters, urchin populations explode, decimating kelp forests. These underwater forests provide nurseries and shelter for countless fish and invertebrates, which in turn feed seals, sea lions, and seabirds. The health of the entire coastal ecosystem hinges on this charismatic urchin predator. Even beavers, with tireless engineering, are ecosystem architects. By building dams, they transform fast streams into ponds and wetlands, creating new habitats. Ponds become home to fish, amphibians, and aquatic insects. Moose feed on aquatic vegetation. Waterfowl use ponds for nesting and rest. Dams purify water, trap sediments, recharge groundwater, and maintain flow during dry periods. One beaver family can enhance the biodiversity of an entire valley. Pollination is another vital thread. During the short Arctic summer, plants must reproduce quickly. Bees, flies, and other insects ferry pollen from flower to flower in exchange for nectar. This relationship underpins seed and fruit production, such as blueberries and Arctic raspberries, which feed bears, birds, and even humans. Without these humble pollinators, summer landscapes would be far less vibrant and nourishing. Balance is delicate. Every being, from the mighty bear to the tiniest soil fungus, plays a role. Predators keep herbivore populations healthy. Herbivores shape plant communities. Decomposers recycle life back to the soil. It is a symphony of interactions, predatory, cooperative, all essential. Remove a single note and the melody falters. This invisible thread of creation reminds us that nature is not a collection of individual species, but an interconnected community. Every life is intertwined with every other, in cycles of giving and receiving, life and death, dependence and support. To understand this web is to understand the true essence of Alaska, an ecosystem whose health depends on the integrity of each part. For millennia, life in Alaska danced to the rhythm of Earth's natural cycles. The rules were harsh but consistent. Today, a new destabilizing force, unprecedented in magnitude and speed, threatens to tear this ancient tapestry. Born far from here, its effects are felt with terrifying clarity in the far north. The future, once a promise of continuity, now breathes fear. Alaska is warming twice as fast as the rest of the planet. This is not a distant projection. It is a present and visible reality. Ice, the very foundation of this world, is disappearing. Glaciers, the living memory of ice ages, are retreating at an accelerated pace. Their melt not only raises global sea levels, but drastically alters local ecosystems. Glacier-fed rivers change flow, temperature, and sediment load, impacting the delicate life cycles of salmon and other aquatic organisms. For the polar bear, sovereign of the Arctic, the loss of sea ice is a death sentence. Ice is its hunting platform, the stage for ambushing seals, its primary prey. With shrinking ice each summer, bears spend more time on land, away from prey. Starving, they approach human communities more often, increasing dangerous conflicts. Body condition declines, reproduction rates fall, and cub survival becomes precarious. The thaw extends beyond visible ice. Permafrost, the permanently frozen ground supporting much of Alaska's natural and human infrastructure, is melting. As it thaws, soil becomes unstable. Entire forests, known as drunken forests, tilt at bizarre angles as the ground beneath them sags. Lakes vanish overnight, drained through cracks in the soil. The most insidious danger is locked in permafrost, vast stores of organic carbon, plants and animals dead for millennia. Microbes decompose this matter, releasing carbon dioxide and methane, a far more potent greenhouse gas. A perilous feedback loop ensues. Warming melts permafrost, releasing greenhouse gases, causing further warming. A climatic time bomb. Ocean acidification is the twin threat. Oceans absorb roughly a quarter of atmospheric CO2, altering seawater chemistry. For Alaskan creatures that build shells or calcium carbonate skeletons, crabs, clams, tiny pteropods, the acidified water is corrosive. It makes shell construction and maintenance more difficult and energy-consuming. Collapse of these foundational species could reverberate catastrophically up the food chain, affecting salmon, whales, and seabirds that depend on them. Direct human impact also leaves scars. Plastic pollution, carried by ocean currents, reaches Alaska's remotest beaches, threatening wildlife that ingest or become entangled in it. Oil and gas exploration, though economically important, risks devastating spills and disrupts migration routes and sensitive habitats. Increased Arctic shipping as sea ice recedes and new routes open, heightens noise pollution, interfering with marine mammal communication, and increases the risk of accidents. Yet amid this grim tableau, resilience, the defining trait of Alaskan life, still pulses. Hope is not certainty, but possibility, born of action and awareness. Efforts to understand and mitigate these changes are growing. Scientists monitor glacier and permafrost health. Indigenous communities with profound and ancient ecological knowledge are at the forefront of observation and adaptation. Their ancestral wisdom, combined with modern science, offers the most promising path forward. Hope resides in nature's own adaptability. Some species may adjust. Beavers, for instance, are expanding northward into tundra, creating new freshwater oases in a changing landscape. Yet the pace of current change is the greatest challenge. Evolution works on geological timescales. Climate change acts over decades. The question is whether Alaskan life can adapt fast enough. The future of Alaska mirrors the future of the planet. It is an early warning system, a place where the consequences of our global actions are amplified and undeniable. The polar bear struggling on melting ice, the tilting drunken forest, the silence of kelp forests eroded by acidity. These are not distant stories. They are our story told in the language of Earth. The future need not be one of fear. It can be a future of respect, restraint, and a renewed alliance between humanity and the natural world. A future where we recognize that Alaska's health is intrinsically linked to our own. A future where the planet's breath is not a sigh of fear, but a wind of renewed hope. A hope demanding our attention, humility, and action. Our journey through this land of giants and ice reaches its epilogue. Yet the story of Alaska, of course, continues. It is written with every sunrise over a glacial peak, every salmon leaping against the current, every silent paw print of a wolf in the snow. We came in search of a tale of the wild, and found something far deeper, a mirror. In the bear's gaze, we saw life's untamable strength and vulnerability. In the caribou migration, we witnessed the blind faith of instinct and the power of unity. In the sacrificial death of the salmon, we understood the true meaning of legacy. Alaska teaches us that the world was not made for us, but that we are part of it. It forces us to reassess our scale, our significance. Before mountains that measure time in eras and ecosystems woven with near-divine complexity, human arrogance dissolves. We are reminded that we are but a single thread in the vast tapestry of creation, and the tug on this thread can unravel everything. This is not just a land of landscapes, it is a land of lessons. Lessons of patience, etched in the slow sculpture of fjords. Lessons of interdependence, revealed in the alliance of tree and fungus. Lessons of resilience, lived by every being that survives the long winter. And perhaps the most urgent of all, the lesson of consequence. Alaska is the canvas where the results of an imbalanced world are painted in the harshest and clearest colors. If a prayer is to be made upon leaving this sacred place, it is not solely for the preservation of its bears and eagles. It is a prayer for our own transformation. May we carry the silence of the tundra to calm the noise of our lives. May we carry the strength of the glacier to face our own challenges. And may we feel the invisible connection that binds everything, acting with the wisdom that connection demands. Alaska does not ask to be saved by us. It asks to be respected. It asks that we recognize that magic and sanctity are not in some distant sky, but here, now, in the heartbeat of the earth beneath our feet. And in that recognition may lie the salvation of us all. We thank you for joining us on this expedition to the wild heart of Alaska. If this journey touched your soul, subscribe to our channel to continue exploring the sacred wonders of our planet. Each documentary is a doorway to new understanding. Click the bell to not miss our next expeditions. Your companionship makes all of this possible. Until next time, may we all walk with greater reverence upon this earth.